I never thought I'd become the target of our HOA president's wrath, but here we are. My name is Daniel. I've lived in Oakwood Estates for 3 years. It's a nice neighborhood with manicured lawns and an HOA that enforces rules with an iron fist. That iron fist belongs to Karen Wilkins, a woman with a "can I speak to your manager" haircut and a perpetual look of disapproval. Last week, I came home to find something strange about my house. At first, I couldn't put my finger on it. Then it hit me. My house numbers had been changed. Instead of the sleek, modern 518 I'd installed, there was a set of generic brass numbers reading 815. Someone had completely reversed my address. I didn't have to wonder who for long. I heard the distinctive sound of Karen clearing her throat behind me. She was standing on my lawn, arms crossed. "I see you've noticed the change," she said smugly. "Your modern numbers weren't in compliance with Section 12, Paragraph 4. Yours were too contemporary." I took a deep breath. "Karen, I checked the guidelines. There's nothing in there about the style of house numbers." She pulled a laminated document from her designer handbag. "Perhaps you should read the updated version the board voted on last month." I scanned it. The paper was dated from last week, and the font for that section didn't even match the rest of the text. Karen had fabricated the rule. "You can't just come onto my property and change my numbers," I said. "That's trespassing." "As HOA president, I have the authority to remedy violations," she huffed, turning to leave. I called after her. "One more thing, Karen. Did you realize that tampering with address numbers is actually illegal? They're essential for emergency services." She waved her hand dismissively. "Don't be dramatic, Daniel. It's just numbers." What Karen didn't know was that I'm a municipal code enforcement officer for the neighboring city. I deal with address regulations every day. I know exactly what's legal. That night, I restored my original numbers and installed a discrete security camera. Sure enough, the camera caught Karen returning with a screwdriver and her brass numbers. The next day, I didn't just email Karen. I emailed the entire HOA board. I laid out the safety implications and the legal ordinances she was violating. I made sure to CC Karen. Professional courtesy, of course. By Saturday, Karen was marching down the street toward me, face red, ready for battle. Neighbors paused their yard work to watch the drama. "How dare you send that slanderous email?" she shouted. "You've made me look like a criminal." "I simply stated facts, Karen. You entered my property and tampered with my address. I have video evidence." "I am the HOA president," she screamed, her voice reaching a pitch that probably had dogs howling 3 blocks away. "I have every right." "Being president doesn't put you above the law," I replied. "If emergency services can't find my house because you flipped the numbers, that's life-threatening." Suddenly, a voice came from behind her. It was Mr. Jenkins, a retired firefighter. "He's right, Karen. Wrong numbers cost precious minutes." Then Mrs. Rodriguez chimed in. "If you're entering properties without permission, we should all be worried." Karen was losing control. She sputtered, then turned to the HOA vice president Ted, who had just pulled up. "Ted. Perfect timing. Daniel is spreading false accusations." Ted looked uncomfortable. "Actually, Karen, that's why I'm here. We've called an emergency meeting. Several other residents have come forward with similar complaints." Karen's smug expression faltered. "This is ridiculous. I've devoted 3 years to this neighborhood." "Actually," I said, pulling out my phone, "I filed a police report this morning. Tampering with address identifiers is a misdemeanor." As if on cue, a police cruiser turned onto our street. Karen's face went from angry red to ghostly white. The officer approached. "Is there a Karen Wilkins here?" "Ma'am, I need to speak with you regarding a complaint about property tampering and interference with emergency identification markers." "I am the HOA president," she stammered. "I was enforcing standards." The officer didn't care. HOA authority doesn't extend to altering address identifiers. That's regulated by municipal code. "I'll need you to come to the station." Watching Karen's face as she realized the real-world consequences was worth every second. She was facing a misdemeanor charge, a fine of up to $1,000, and potential civil liability. Her earlier bravado had completely evaporated. She stood there, mouth opening and closing like a fish, as the officer led her toward the cruiser. The board removed her as president that afternoon. My modern 518 stayed exactly where it was. Some people think rules are weapons to be used against their neighbors. But in Oakwood Estates, we learned that the most important rule is actually pretty simple: Don't mess with a guy who knows the law better than you do.
And more importantly,
Don't mess with the numbers that might just save your life.